This is Eagle Owl, and today I will be talking about Kevin Byard has been released. We knew that was coming. Also, CJ Gardner Johnson reunion. We will see. Or we bring in the Justice Simmons. We don't know. And lastly, have we forgotten about Isaiah Rodgers? But let's get straight into it. All right, so before we get straight into the topics, Darius Slay had responded to the critics of his, or I should say, not trying to be braggadocious, of my viral tweet of, of Steven Nelson, him speaking. And honestly, I put this tweet out. I did not expect it to get 500,000 views, but put the tweet out and there was a lot of negative response because I'm like, well, yeah, they bantering back and forth like how toxic the Philly fans can be. And let's be honest, some Philly fans can get crazy. And Darius Slay, I guess because who he is, got a lot of negative responses, but he did respond saying like it's all love. I love Detroit. I love Philadelphia. And I believe him. I think he do. I think he get a negative or bad rep for some reason. He's play at a high level. He is a little emotional on social media at times, but Darius Slay is a baller for sure. Don't run Darius Slay out of town. All right, so let's get into the topics today. Kevin Byard has been released, save about I think like 13, 14 million against the cap. So we got about 42 or 44 million of spending money as we speak against the cap. I love it. I love it. I love the move. We knew it was gonna happen. But what I don't love about it is that we cut Kevin Byard, but Eagles fans and the front office want to, sign Justin Simmons, which makes absolutely no sense because if you're going to go with an older guy, go with Kevin Byard. I think Kevin Byard is better. I think Kevin Byard is not washed because I think a lot of these dudes, I'm telling you, a lot of these dudes was a victim of that system, man. System was pure trash. So if you're going to sign older guy, you might as well just keep Kevin Byard on paper. You might as well. But again, I like the cap space because I'm starting to lean towards not try to be all over the place. I'm starting to lean towards signing a linebacker out of free agency instead of really drafting one. I know we are anyway, maybe even early, like second round ish. But I'm really starting to lean towards we should get an established guy because I'm at the point where if it's not really Edrin Cooper or Peyton Wilson, I like Jeremiah to try to join, but I know he'll be a project. To me, you look a little small. Even Edrin Cooper, his build looks small. Like he's 6'3", like 230, but some about his body shape, pause, that look like it's kind of slim. Like he's shaped like pause. Shaq Leonard, they kind of shaped alike, but you see, even with Shaq Leonard, how he dealt with injuries and stuff like that. Whereas though at this point, Shaq Leonard's not even the same guy, but his frame worries me a little bit with Edrin Cooper, but no doubt in my mind he's a dog. But when you got a guy like Patrick Queen and stuff out there, man, it's really tough to convince me like, yeah, draft the linebacker early and sign the linebacker to big money at the point where you could get another position early, then, sign a big name linebacker, in which you got 43 million right now. Even though I know you're going to extend Smitty, you're going to extend Dickerson, you still should have a lot of money left. And it'll be interesting with how we do with that extra money. Because one of the moves he can do with the extra money, not sign Justice Simmons. And trust me, Simmons been a dog. No offense to the 30-plus-year-olds doing their thing in the NFL, but we don't need that in Philly right now. Because anytime we do it, it just doesn't really work out for us. The 30-plus-year-olds that really work in Philly is the guys that been there for years, like the Lane Johnsons, the Jason Kelce's, the Brandon Grahams, stuff like that. But usually when we try to sign one, for the most part, it doesn't work. But it's a young guy we traded for, who I believe we should sign. That's a free agent right now. Is C.J. Gardner Johnson.
I think they will sign at least one safety. And don't be surprised, and I'll tell you this, Tom, don't be surprised that Gardner Johnson doesn't come back to the Eagles.
Really?
Yes.
CJGJ, you think there's a chance he comes back here?
Yes. Yes, I'm just kind of telling you right now.
Okay.
I mean, I told you about Merrifield, right? So I'm just telling you, don't be surprised that because they need a couple of safeties.
C.J. Gardner Johnson got the heart of a lion. We know he's going to bring his all. I know the clip is recirculating of him saying, I can't stand the people with Philly. I get it. But let's get out our feelings. If C.J. Gardner Johnson is willing to come back, I believe we should let him back. But there is a con nobody's talking about. And what is that con? C.J. Gardner Johnson injury history. Remember, he had the lacerated kidney with the Philadelphia Eagles, missed about 4 or 5 games. He had the torn pec, missed most of the season with Detroit. Now, that's something to watch. He has a trend. It seemed like a guy really can't stay healthy. Bad enough. I can't really say Sidney Brown because Sidney Brown don't really have an injury history, but he did just tear his ACL. He will be back like mid-season. And Reed Blankenship, he dealt with a lot of injuries. And those are the two guys that's on our roster right now. The only two. We got Reed Blankenship, who was possibly injury prone, and Sidney Brown just coming off a serious injury. And no telling when he'll be back. Then you might sign another guy and C.J. Gardner Johnson, who's been dealing with injury. That's my knock. That's a big knock at that. C.J. Gardner Johnson has been dealing with injuries. Now, will I love him back? Sure. But I'm not going to ignore the fact, like, yeah, he will miss some games. I got to be honest. I got to be real. But I would love C.J. Gardner Johnson back. All right, so let's get into, I guess, the last topic of the day. Last topic is Isaiah Rodgers. Have we forgotten about Isaiah Rodgers, man? We're talking about a guy that's fast, a guy that's an outside corner, a guy that can ball out. The reason why I wanted to dedicate this segment to Isaiah Rodgers is because he had like a Q&A with the fans, and it even came to my mind like how much he can't wait to play for the city. They even asked him about his game. He even said he more of a primary outside corner, and he really can't wait to play. Now I keep hearing names like Quayon Mitchell, like Kool-Aid, and these dudes. And these dudes, college tape look good. But we can't forget, we mentioned Keely Ringo, we mentioned Eli Ricks. But I think a lot of people forget we saw Isaiah Rodgers, who is young, who is ready to go, and who just had a whole season off. So he's going to have really fresh legs going into camp. He's going to be ready to go. And I think he shouldn't be a guy we sleep on. I would say that because it feel like was going around the Eagles land like we need DBs, we need another corner. Hell, some people said we need to replace Slay and Bradbury. I'm one of those dudes like Bradbury needs competition. Yeah, we might need a slot corner, but to say like we don't have an outside corner on our team, possibly a good 2 or even a good 3 who can really compete in Isaiah Rodgers, Eli Ricks, and Keely Ringo is insane to me. I think Isaiah Rodgers, I know Isaiah Rodgers is ready to go because he got actual NFL film on him. The dude is a baller. So don't forget about Isaiah Rodgers, man. I know the draft is on our mind. We see these young dudes, and again, these young dudes might be ready to go, but don't forget we got Isaiah Rodgers, man. Isaiah Rodgers is a dog, is a baller. He could do everything. He's just as fast as most of them dudes, if not faster. And we know what he can do at the NFL level. We've seen what these dudes can do at the college level, sure, but we know for sure what Isaiah Rodgers can bring to the NFL level. All I'm saying is don't sleep on him. Feel like we're sleeping on him or possibly even forgetting about him. So don't forget about Isaiah Rodgers. But hey, man, what do you think and how do you feel about the news today? Look, Howie Roseman got a lot of money to work with, and I'm saying go get Patrick Queen. Also, Isaiah Rodgers, as I just talked about, don't forget about him. And if Howie don't go linebacker, what safety he should sign? Should he get Justin Simmons? Should he get CJ Gardner Johnson? I got my worries, but let me know what you think. But this is Eagle Al, man.